I do want to get to another story that we have been tracking. Take a look at your screen as this is a live image coming in out of Los Angeles there from our Fox 11 LA team. Hollywood actors joining screenwriters in the first dual strike from the two unions in more than 6 decades. The strike for the actors beginning there at noon. A.J. Christian is an associate professor of communication studies at Northwestern University and director of the Media and Data Equity Lab. He joins us now live to talk more about all of this. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So first off, just kind of explain to me how we got to this point where we are right now.
There's a lot of factors that led us to this point, largely the transition in Hollywood from broadcast and cable to streaming. The streaming economy has really changed the equation for actors and writers. It's made it more difficult for them to get what are called residual or syndication payments on work they've already done. That was the base of stability for most actors and writers for most of the 20th century, where if you made a film or TV show, if it was re-aired on another channel or globally, you would get more payments, and that would keep you sustained while you were in between jobs, because most people don't work every single month in Hollywood. Unfortunately, streaming locks those films and series on one platform, which means the actors and writers don't get paid. And so a lot of them are really struggling to make a living wage in a middle-class lifestyle. There's also this question of AI, which has popped up into the news across all industries this year, and it affects writers and actors too, where these companies might be able to actually use their work without actually hiring them. This is the first labor action with AI on the negotiating table.
Is this kind of what we expected to happen at this point? We know that this has kind of been the thought process, I guess, that this could potentially happen, but is this what we expected to take place here, where there would be this first dual strike in decades?
I think it's not surprising for anyone who's been following the trends in Hollywood for several years now. It's just been really a decline in working conditions for the past 10 years as we've had more and more shows made. Every individual show has fewer episodes, fewer writers, fewer actors, less residual payments, smaller payments in general. So I think it was inevitable that this strike was going to happen eventually, just like it happened in 2007, 2008 with the writers when streaming was new, and just like it happened in 1960 when there weren't even residuals. So I think this was pretty much expected, but I should say the Screen Actors Guild seemed to be negotiating in good faith for most of June. They kept delaying talks, and it seemed like maybe they were actually going to work out a deal like the directors did. But in fact, it seems like the studios did not want to make a deal. They want to drive a hard line, and they want to see if they can break these unions at this critical point in their stock prices.
And we saw some pretty strong words from Fran Drescher. She's, of course, the president there. What were your thoughts as you're watching her kind of make those comments and call some folks out, I would say?
Yeah, it seemed like Fran Drescher was really channeling a lot of the collective rage in America today. Of course, actors like Fran Drescher, who benefited from the broadcast and cable economy, have made a really good living as an actor, but they're really the top 1% of all of the people in the SAG-AFTRA union. Most of their workers are like most Americans. They're working class people trying to make a middle class life, and these corporations are taking profits because they want to appease shareholders and their own stock prices instead of actually serving their workers. This is across Hollywood, not just screen actors, but the writers, even the below-the-line crew members, the electricians, the camera operators, which are really blue-collar jobs, have been complaining about working conditions for several years. So what you saw Fran Drescher channeling is making sure that she knows that her members know that she's on their side, right? She might be a multimillionaire, but she knows that most of them aren't, that this is actually part of a broader class struggle that's happening in America right now.
What sort of impact are we going to see here, and how soon are we going to see an impact? I know certain productions have already put out some notes to say they're not going to happen.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of production has been shut down since the writers went on strike about a month ago. But now anything that was trying to eke through that's scripted film or television is definitely shut down. There's also, I think, very meaningfully for the streamers, promotional opportunities are also not happening right now. The SAG union released yesterday a list of things that actors cannot do, and it's a lot of things. It includes ultra low budget theatrical, it includes promotional opportunities, red carpets, award shows. They can do some things like reality shows, game shows, it seems are okay. They can do kind of sponsored social media content, but they can't do promotional social media content. So actors are not going to be pumping a lot of the films and series that are released right now, and that's going to hurt the marketing capabilities of these streaming companies in the short term.
Yeah, when I saw some of the rules there that were put out, I'm wondering about talk shows, things like that. But what goes through your mind as you're looking at some of these images here on your screen and you see folks on the picket line there?
I'm seeing a lot of solidarity, right? Writers have been out here for several weeks now protesting these studios. Many actors have also been joining them, but now even more will. And we're going to see a lot of attention on these protests because, of course, there are very famous actors, right? These are some of the most recognizable faces in the world that will now be picketing and not working because, frankly, they have nothing else to do, right? There's no productions really happening for them right now. They have limited opportunities outside of that, with the exception of maybe indie and ultra low budget or micro budget productions. So what we're going to see is a lot of inspiration, I think, for a lot of Americans that, you can fight for your rights, right? This is the first time that workers are saying no to AI and that workers need to control AI. I think a lot of Americans that are looking at the potential eradication of their jobs through AI are looking at these protests and saying, oh, wait, we actually do have the power in this economy. We actually can take back the value of our labor. So I think because of the media attention, because there's so many famous people on the picket lines, I think we're broadly seeing the rise of and the escalation of what has already been the resurgence of labor and unionization in America.
What do you think about the AI aspect of this? Because that was, some parts of that are kind of shocking. I know that we talk a lot about artificial intelligence and how it can be used in the future, it can take jobs away, that sort of thing. But when you're talking specifically about Hollywood, movie making, TV shows being made, it's kind of an interesting aspect that a lot of people didn't really think about until now.
Yeah, AI is going to change our entire economy. Every single job, every single industry is going to be impacted by AI, possibly for the better, but it really poses a lot of risk for the power of workers to actually control their own labor. In Hollywood, for the writers, AI, we already know, can write scripts, not good scripts yet, but these are systems that are learning very, very quickly. And we know from deepfake technology that it's already possible to fake, an actor who has a lot of video out there that the computer can draw from to model, right? You can fake the president of the United States just like you can fake Tom Cruise or Meryl Streep in a performance. The studios are looking at this as a huge cost-saving measure, right? They can hire an actor, do a complete body scan, get a couple words there of their voice, and actually have that actor act in a series or film without ever having to bring that actor on set, without ever having to pay for their food, without ever having to pay for their trailer, their housing, their health benefits, right? So this could render a lot of actors' jobs obsolete very soon. Maybe the technology isn't quite there yet for it to be cost effective, but it's really not hard to see that in the next few years, that is entirely possible. And I think the writers or actors are looking at the ways that they negotiated for streaming early on in the 2007-2008 strike and realizing that they didn't fight hard enough for streaming residuals. They didn't take the technology seriously and think that it could be as powerful as it actually is. So now they are saying, no way, we are not going to let this run away from us, because if they relent now, they might never win this battle again.
How long could this possibly go on for? What do you see in the future here? Does somebody kind of give? What happens?
Something's going to have to give, as in every negotiation, but it seems like both parties don't really have an incentive to give in. The last Writers Guild strike lasted for about 6 months, so that would put us to about the end of this year. And this time, the studios are in a worse financial position, and the writers and actors are in a worse financial position, right? So both sides feel like they have a lot to lose by giving in, and very little to gain by giving in to these negotiations. Of course, these companies, their stocks have dropped since last year. Some of them have recovered, particularly Netflix in 2023, but they're not near their all-time highs. They're looking out for shareholders, and shareholders are saying that you need to lower costs. The streaming business is costly. Broadcast and cable revenues are declining very rapidly. And so the corporations are saying, we need to cut costs. But of course, the workers are saying that you as a corporation have so many more options than we do as workers, right? You can sell off parts of your company. You can enter global partnerships with companies outside of the United States. You can produce film and television outside of the United States with different unions or non-union labor. So the workers are saying, we are already broke. We're already struggling. You need to give us more work. You need to pay us more, and you need to protect our labor from future technologies as well. So this could last over 6 months. I think it wouldn't be hard to imagine that this is and becomes the largest Hollywood strike in history.
Yeah, definitely could get there. AJ Christian, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here. Anything else that you want to add about all of this before I let you go?
I think you were very comprehensive, and I look forward to following this over the coming months.
All right, I'm sure we'll have you back very soon. Thank you again for taking the time to be here.
Thanks so much.
All right, everybody, want to take that image full so you can get a better look at that. That is a look at those picketers who are there on the picket lines at this point. You have actors and screenwriters that is outside of Paramount Studios there over in LA. We're going to keep checking in with our Fox 11 LA team to get the latest information on this dual strike.